Hello and welcome back. I'm Thomas Boucher, and in this video I'm going to resume working on the Crablocks and take a look at where I had left off on them. So I think it's about time I take these little Crablocks back out and dust them off and try to complete them. I started working on these almost a year ago and I ended up hitting a massive burnout and I completely stopped working on everything altogether. But after making those keys for that customer and working on that one Crablock, I think I'm about ready to take these back out and see if I can finish them back up. Part of the reason why I stopped working on these was because I ended up hitting a snag on them, and I think that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back as to why I was just like, I need a break. So I need to kind of take a look at them, sort of figure out what's going on and see if I can solve that issue. The issue that I was having with these is that there's not quite enough clearance for the key to turn all the way. The tumblers, like the part that the key pushes against, is hitting one of the bottoms of the jaws. The jaw comes straight down and wraps around a pin. So I've got the cover plate off so you can see better. So these pins here and here that the jaw comes and wraps around, I ended up using a pin that was too large, and I don't remember if I just wasn't paying close enough attention to my design or what, but that's creating some of the issue. I used 3/16 and it should have been 1/8. A part of the problem that creates is in the plate here. I believe I have 1/8 inch holes. So I'm going to see if I can solve that issue without having to make a complete new plate. But I am going to have to take those pins out. I had been working on trying to make 5 of these at one time. But I'm going to stick with just fixing this one. And if I can get this one solved, then I can move on to fixing the other ones, or finishing the other ones. So I'm going to start by trying to pop off the ward box here. There we go. Alright. So there's one tumbler. There we go. So now that I've got everything apart, I gotta try to pop these pins off here. Pins are removed. Now what I have to try to do is make those holes smaller to fit a 1/8 pin. So the way that I plan to make the holes smaller is that I'm going to use a punch, and I'm going to punch around the hole and move material in until I make it smaller. I'm going to do that from the outside of the plate because I'm going to want a countersink for that pin to be riveted over and to hold it relatively flush. It's okay if they're a little proud. So I'm not super concerned with what size that hole is, I just need it to be something smaller than 1/8. You can see the difference there between the pin that I had and what I'm going to put in. And when you put that pin inside of the eye, you can see how much extra space there is. So if I have that all the way up here, that's quite a bit of clearance I can gain. So hopefully that's going to do it for me. In the future, I may adjust my plate so that I can use the 3/16 pin like I had, but to try to salvage this one, I think I'm going to try this out. So now what I got to do is file a little tiny tenon on the bottom of these. I don't think I need to take off a whole lot, so I got to be careful. Alright, so now I'm going to rivet these in. So the next order of business is going to be figuring out what size these eyes need to be. Now obviously they need to fit around an 1/8 inch pin, but I'm going to need to straighten them out, get a measurement, cut them down to the appropriate size, and then re-wrap them. Alright, so now that these are opened up, I have to trim them to their new length. So after going through and making some of those adjustments, I've decided that I'm going to have to start over on some of these parts even more than I wanted to. So because I moved those pins that the jaws were rotating on further apart, things don't quite want to line up now. The tumblers are they're too loose now. They don't want to fit in there properly because the jaws are now further apart. That also means that it's real small, but there's also a gap now in between the jaws. I don't know if it's focusing. There's now a gap in the jaws a little bit, and this cover plate is a little loose in here. So I'm going to start over and make a new plate, make a new cover piece. I'll be able to reuse the spring, the key, and the ward box, but I think the rest of it I'm starting over on, which is fine because I want to get this right. So I'm going to call that it for this video. I'm going to remake the pieces off camera since I already showed that process once and get things up to speed, and then I'll resume filming. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel as it really helps me out and it'll keep you up to date on stuff such as this project as well as my shop build and everything else I'll be doing in the future. So thanks again for watching. Bye.